Intrusive thoughts.
Okay. Oh my God. Stop. But keep going.
3, 2, 1. Hi everyone. Welcome to this podcast, Soft Resistance. I'm your host, Hayanga, and this is
Maga Kiwe.
And today we're going to be speaking about belonging. This is a topic that's close to our hearts, as community is really something that we talk about a lot. So I'm really looking forward to this podcast.
Yes. So thank you for joining us. We're going to start off by getting you guys to think about something that has made you feel connected today. We're going to take a moment and we're just going to hold on to that memory as we tune in, listen, drive to, clean our dishes to, whatever you're doing to this podcast. But yeah, just hold that memory of something that has made you feel connected today. All right. Can you tell me about a time when you felt like you belonged, like you had found your place, and what was that like?
I would say in my 20s, I had a group of friends and, we just fit together and I felt like I belonged. Like, of course, you grow up, you go through experiences through high school, primary school, where sometimes you feel like you're floating around.
Yeah.
And I was very quirky and I used to be called a cartoon. So when I was really younger, I felt like I was more a person where people poked fun at rather than was part of the fun. And so in my 20s, I had a group of friends. We did a lot of things together. And I felt like I belonged then.
Yeah.
What about you?
That's so funny. Not funny, haha. But funny, interesting, because I think for me, being a kid who moved around to different countries, there were definite moments where I was like, oh, I'm well aware that I do not fit or belong in any group.
Yeah.
But the idea of being the funny person or who led into the humor or being picked at, that made me I think realize that I just had to create my own space of what belonging meant. And if I couldn't belong in the way that everybody else was, then I could just be like, oh, you're making fun of me? Let me make fun of myself harder and see what happens there. And in a way, kind of flip the narrative, because then I was seen as someone who didn't take anything too seriously. But I think I have had pockets in my life where I felt like I've belonged. In terms of my career and where I'm at, I feel like I'm belonging in my purpose. In terms of friends, I've had beautiful one-on-one group connections where I've paused in those moments and been like, damn, this feels like home. This feels like I feel grounded in this space. And I think that feeling of groundedness is what makes me feel like I'm connected and I belong in a space.
Ooh, that's interesting. So you point to when you were younger, feeling of when you're outcasted and you used your humor to fit in. And then you're pointing to, and you're a somatic therapist, so this will come up. Yeah. You point out that, when you feel grounded and in your space, in your bodily space, and you feel like you're belonging.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Say more.
Well, for example, I was out on a walk with a friend the other day and we had gotten to see the movie and we just then walked and decompressed after the movie. And I was like, damn, this is such a beautiful friendship. And I remember just noticing my whole posture was just elated. There was such a joy and a lightness that I actually paused. I was like, I just want to tell you how much I cherish our friendship right now. Shout out to you, friend. But there's been those moments, but then there's also been these other moments where I've been in groups of friends. You were at my birthday trip and that was such a beautiful moment where I think we were sitting around the fire and I was looking out at all of us and I was like, this is home. I feel held, I feel supported, I feel celebrated. Yeah. But I also feel like as much as you guys are feeding into me, I was feeding back into you. Co-creating belonging and connection. So it's just in those moments, I think, where it kind of feels as if I'm taking a bird's eye view in the interaction that's happening. And in that, I'm just reflecting on all the moments that have led up to this and all the building blocks that have led up to like us being together. And I think a part of it is just like knowing that there's people I share deep values and not just history with, but like moments of intimacy.
Yeah.
Like emotional intimacy with. Yeah.
That's very like beautiful for you to share. And you know, when you were speaking, I was so curious because I know of your life experience in terms of you having migrated to countries which were not your country of origin, but also then because I grew up in a monoracial space where everyone looked like me.
Yeah.
So I feel like I only had to reckon with like belonging versus identity when I was older. Like I was in my 20s when I migrated. Yeah. And I remember being shocked. I'm like, okay. So I don't just get to walk up to groups of people and immediately create connection with them because I'm part of probably an out group or I'm coming with histories that are accompanying me. So I'm curious about your experience because you seem to have curated a sense of, you know, finding that sense of groundedness, finding a place of belonging. Yeah. As somebody who's been a sojourner, traveler, that's very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
I guess it's going to lead us to one of the questions I want us to explore. And I guess we can start exploring it now about like, I've had to kind of tap into different parts of myself.
Okay.
One thing you'll learn about migrating across the Eurocentric world is that you are made aware of the parts of you that in your monoculture were never really a thing because everybody shared that. Everybody shared the same language. Everybody shared the same way of expressing and connecting and being. And the things that you had to contend with were just like the insecurities of like class systems or just like being a young girl or socialized as a young girl or, you know, those kind of things and feeding into the culture and being like, this is my culture. How do I outwork it and the insecurities within that? But when you are growing up in England and you don't know the language and you can't speak the language, you are reminded that like, oh, there's something that everybody has in common that I don't.
Wow.
And so then you're kind of navigating that and then having to make sense of like grappling with a lot of things of, am I enough of a person? Am I not enough of a person? How do I then show up in a way that still feeds into that part of me that seeks and needs connection and belonging? Because yes, ultimately, love my siblings. I have a big sibling group. So we all kind of banded together and were together majority of our childhood. But there were times where, you know, my older brother was in high school. I was in primary school. The other siblings were in like daycare. So obviously we're split across the education system and we're having to find a way of connecting.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the things that saved me in England was having a drama teacher who saw my energy and encouraged that and didn't tell me it was too much or, you know, like push it away. So apparently maybe there are some good white people. Sorry. No, there are some good teachers. No, but like I remember this English teacher, he was very like typical English teacher, scary looking, but deep down, big softy. And he encouraged me to like sign up for the Wizard of Oz play. And I did that. And I think from that moment, I learned that, oh, when I perform or when I put on a character, it invites people in. Okay. It allows me to feel connected to people in a different way. So that was something I learned in England. And then moving to Australia, my English had developed. I was a bit better. And then I was like, oh, Australia values sport. Sport is something back home in South Africa I was really good at. So then I signed up for all the sporting things throughout my primary and high school age. And so I think just like kind of finding those parts that allowed me to feel safe in these communities and in these societies was what really helped me bridge the connection to to belonging. But there were also times where it left me feeling like, oh crap, there will be parts of me that I'll have to like sacrifice or bury because I'm in spaces where it's not safe to express this. I'm in spaces where my blackness, although visible, it's not something I can or should talk about in a way. So that was a big sacrifice of like, oh, I can't say certain things or I can't hold on to parts of my culture and my nationalism, like you told me, because it would be read the wrong way or be perceived as an aggressive act or whatever. And then also growing up as a black kid in predominantly white spaces, you quickly learned that you were the scapegoat. So there were just moments of having to learn how to balance that very early on, of having to be okay with like, you will always be othered. Wow. Thank you. That was a deep question. I know I answered it, but I feel like I didn't. And I guess my, like, in flip, because I don't want us to spend too much time on that, I'm curious to ask, like, as you've grown up here in your adulthood, have you found that there have been moments where yourself has had to be slightly different or fine-tuned in order to belong in certain spaces? And how have you navigated that?
No, I think that, therapy is really helping me, but that's the later part of belonging, truly belonging, all of me belonging. I think when I was younger, it was more of like negotiating, as you mentioned, sort of like performing sometimes. And I was really socialized to be nice. And so I think that for me, niceness has been such a big pain for me, because I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I'm not really able to express big parts of me because people interact with my nice part. And I guess it's kind of like a people pleasing part, but
culture is a real place.
I think that negotiating, or even just, you talked about, for me as a newly arrived, I would say I'm a newly arrived immigrant, I think that pain of not automatically belonging has been significant. And I think about, I work with families and parents who are immigrants, and it was actually this experience where I was talking to a young person, and the young person was talking about how many immigrant parents, they're here like body-wise, but spiritually, economically, nationally, some of them can really live on the continent. And I think that was...
say that one again.
It was just like, I recognized it in me. Like, I actually was a moment of connection with many immigrant parents of like, who've been here for many years. Cause I was like, I realized I was living in my home country.
Wow.
And yet when I go back to my home country, my friends have moved on. They've moved on, they have other lives. So like when I go back, I'm like, I feel like, they're not making space for me. They're not dropping stuff to be there for me. So it's like, okay. And then I come here and then I realize like, I'm always battling with this kind of low level depression of like, because it's like, I've got to make new friendships without roots. They're not rooted like where we've known each other through ages, and then new friendships, and I don't always know whether I have a place in their lives as deeply as, friendships where there's a deep roots of like having grown up together, or, even just living in the same place. It's so easy to be rooted to one another. So that feeling for me has been very interesting. A feeling of, so now I'm navigating a feeling of merging identity, merging my culture orientation, and also just merging this healing self of me where I want to show up as me. Like, I want to be my true self. And so many of us struggle with like, you only know some parts of me, and you don't know full parts of me. And you mentioned of like feeling, there are parts of you where like, racialized as too much, or read as too this and too that, or not enough. And then those things show up, and then even when you're trying to create community, I find myself struggling because it's like, oh, how do I show up as my full self and ask for my needs to be met, ask to be taken care of, because I'm very low maintenance friend. But like being low maintenance is basically being emotionally unavailable.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So in terms of like now realizing that, okay, this duality of living spiritually elsewhere and physically here, how are you now starting to merge those two to find your sense of belonging where you are, either metaphysically or,
I think it's taking risks and trying to deepen the friendships I have here, and trying to connect with being here. So like connecting with being here socially, like creating community. It's just making even when I don't feel like doing things, I try and do them, because I think the biggest experience, and I speak to other early migrants as myself, and they really talk about it's not really happy here for them. It's not happy. And so there's that feeling of like, at work, I don't fit in. And then socially, my friends live far away who share the same cultural identity as me. They live different, far away. I've got to drive hours or 2 hours. And then I've got to make friends from other nationalities like yourself. And it's like, I want to be friends with you. But then so it's always negotiating, but like I'm trying to be more of like, I make friends, and I communicate more now of like, I'm not traveling well, this is how you can take care of me.
Beautiful. So actually allowing yourself that permission to name what it is that you need, but also it sounds like there's a grieving of like, okay, what used to be is not going to be here, so how do I start to live with the memory of what makes me feel good, and how do I build that here?
I never thought of it of like grieving until now. I genuinely have never thought that I've been grieving. I'm just like, why am I struggling? Thanks for naming that for me.
You're welcome. Well, you named it for yourself. I just paraphrased it back. One thing you mentioned is the idea of building community. And I think building community and belonging go hand in hand, because yes, you can do all these like individualistic work on yourself to be the best person to go and connect. But if you're not also building a community around you that helps you to feel connected and safe and held, aside from family and tribe and country of origin, you can actually be left wandering and drifting like a flag. I use that analogy a lot because I sometimes, as much as I've worked really hard to build pockets of community, there are moments where I still feel like I'm drifting. And I think a part of that, as I'm thinking about it and verbally processing it out now, is the idea of like having roots has always been something that's been a desire of mine, but has been something that's maybe been elusive. And so I've built like small pockets of community where I've felt those moments of like, deep embodied like connection and belonging. But I think once I'm out of those spaces, there is a part of me that's like, but am I rooted in that? Like, am I fully in that? Is this like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it just came out, and now here it is. It's an unflashed thought.
No, I think that's a very interesting thing, because even when we talk about belonging and also connection, I think there's always I think one thing that's hard for me to navigate and other people, I think, is the ruptures that happen and how painful it feels to have even mini ruptures or mega ruptures with people, and sometimes not feeling like, you have the skills to work on, the rupture, and also like, trying to navigate, this rupture, but that person, do they
to repair? Because the rupture has come.
Honestly, like, do you actually want to? I have asked questions of myself of like, do you actually like me enough to want to repair? And I shy away from it because I feel like a lot of us are taught ways in which to repair.
Yeah. And that I think that's something that does really kind of like play on my mind a lot, because I guess as being a young person who's migrated a lot, you learned how to quickly build surface level connections. And through that, you learned, okay, that's some people or some moments where it goes a bit deeper and it feels like belonging, but then you get uprooted and you leave again. And so then those roots aren't fully there where you get experience rupturing and repairing with those people, but also with yourself and figuring out like, how do I show up in moments of rupture? What's my contribution to that? But also, what are the things that I need to feel or to even invite the idea of repair? Because I think once you can answer those questions, or you can start asking yourself those questions, then maybe we are moving into a space of like, this is belonging.
Yeah.
This is like, I am showing up, like you were saying, fully integrated as my full self, as a person who has these needs, these desires, these dreams, these parts that aren't always welcomed, loved, and celebrated, but I'm also like, and that's okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think this has been a very interesting topic. I don't want to just end it here because it feels like it's so heavy. But yeah, it's just, I think there's definitely benefits of always working towards belonging and connection. But there are definite costs as well around like, okay, what is it that I'm sacrificing? What are the parts of me that I really have to be honest and authentic with myself about? Because it is kind of hard.
Yeah.
And I was reading the other day, like a big element to feeling fully actualized as a human being is working on the self-esteem. And a big part of your self-esteem comes from feeling like it's okay to fuck up and find out and I'll be held and be okay in that space. And
I think my favorite statement that I always say is that, you heal in relationship.
Yeah.
Most of our wounds as humans are in relationships, and some of us try to heal from like, oh, maybe I'm gonna isolate myself, I'm gonna be my lone self. But like we heal in relationship, like we heal the same wounds that we wherever. So it's like I always take every kind of like, I mean, sometimes with some friends you can never repair.
Yeah.
And that's the most like, and you have to love yourself enough to go like, oh, okay, this is not like I'm trying to repair and it's not happening. But if that happens with another, even in family, we're talking about like, it's okay. There are a lot of people who have,
really hard family ruptures.
They've had really big family ruptures. And so like finding sort of like a proxy, like a person to another person that you can practice and heal in that relationship. And that's the idea of chosen family, idea of community. Those people can get to show up for you.
Yeah. And I think a big, like, as well on that topic of like healing in relationship, we're not encouraging you guys to go and find people to then like practice repairing, like to be your proxy surrogate people, but we are encouraging you to kind of reflect on yourselves around what are the parts of me that actually felt wounded, what are the parts of me that need connection and are missing a sense of belonging. And that can be done with, your therapist, it can be done with family or friends that you do trust, or people that can hold you, or it can even be done with like simply just journaling. When you notice that feeling come up, and just like putting feeling to paper or thought to paper and just coming back on it and reflecting on it and being like, okay, this is a pattern I'm noticing. And if this is a pattern I'm noticing, how can I intentionally walk into the next space with that in mind, knowing that this is a wound of mine that I have? Not saying that you hold it out and say, this is my wound. But, you know, you walk in being like, I know that for me, I value honesty, I value compassion. And there've been people in my life, whether it be friends or family or work or whatever, who haven't always held those parts with care. And so how do I ensure that those parts are held with care, witnessed with care, but also how do I model that to the people that I want to build connection and community with, to then help kind of reinforce your sense of belonging. Because if you've got ownership in what you're building, you're going to feel deeply connected.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like you belong, because then you are the root. And I think that's what I need to do. I think I need to take some time to kind of be like, in these spaces that I'm currently feeling a deep sense of belonging, what are the roots or what are the seeds that have been planted there, which are my values, and how do I continue to nurture those in a way that they feel cemented and rooted, and that they're building from a solid foundation.
Yeah.
What about for you? Healing with love.
That does sound like me. I think it's just gentle, even just as a newly arrived immigrant, being here for 6 years,
As an expat?
as an
African expat?
I think that grieving, and like I still have continued relationships with back home, but like seeing what I can create here.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be here for, you know, hopefully a few years only.
How many of you are we talking? No. And this is somebody who's noticing their abandonment wounds being okay, go on. Leave me. Go buy your milk. Sorry.
Yeah, but like, just I am starting to kind of let go and grieve kind of like those friendships that are so strong. I still have friendships with them, but like here, sort of like, hey, like, and just randoms of going out and making new friends and doing activities when I can. But also like with friends looking how to deepen. I was saying to you, like, I'm really like loving just going to somebody's house. It's just like there's an officialness of always meeting for brunch. So now I'm like, I just want to be in people's like homes, or I want to do services for people. I want to cook for people. I want to like hang out. I mean, like, I can boil rice.
Can you? Okay. Hyanga doesn't cook. It's not their love language. Just being quite frank. But you are a great like cooker.
Yeah.
As much as you don't like it, you actually know how to cook well.
Yeah.
It's a gift.
Yeah. So on that note, you did speak about what connected you today.
What made me feel connected? I think just laughing. I think when we laugh, it's something that's so involuntary and so somatic and so deeply embodied that it, not me just using words, it's something that is just pure. I think a laugh is just so pure, and when I get to laugh with the two of you, I always feel like, oh, these are my people. I am here. I'm seen. I'm witnessed in all of my entirety, and so thank you. I feel a deep sense of belonging in this moment with you guys. Thank you.
Me too.
What about you?
Yeah, that was my connecting moment. Rema,
still mine.
no, just having Rema come here grounded me. I do recognize how much of a gift she is with the podcast.
Oh, she's a weapon.
And she's a lovely person. So that was connecting, and then you came here with all the love time. It always makes me really excited to be together.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say your little photo shoot was what like made you feel like you belong.
In the front page of the book.
She said, Vogue, call me.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming to another beautiful episode of Soft Resistance. We hope to see you again in our, well, not see you, but we hope that you tune in again. And take care of yourselves.
Thank you.